Hey, welcome to Tom's Radio Room Show, and this is that NewKanon KN-1003 multifunction radio, multi-band radio. And this morning we were trying to see if we could do a reception report, see how sensitive it is. Band conditions are just in the toilet. As I reported yesterday, the experts are saying that we are now at probably the low end of the solar cycle, which means shortwave reception may not be as good. Well, for me here in Clearwater, it's terrible. And on top of that, I'm in my workshop and I'm using the built-in telescopic antenna on this radio, which makes things even worse. Typically, if I want to listen to shortwave, I have to use an external antenna that's brought in through a shielded cable. One of the problems is I've got my computer on, I've got the webcam on, I've got the monitor on, I've got lights on, lots of noise in my workshop. Not as bad as my office because I have several computers running up there all the time. Down here I only have one at a time, maybe two at a time running, so not quite as bad. I think this is Radio Habana, which is just south of me. I'm in Tampa Bay area in Florida, and of course Cuba is south of me. Usually they come in very good. They're coming in very good right now. Now, I want to tell you about some things that I've noticed so far. One is I'm still conducting the life test, I'll call it. It's not really a life test, but the test on the battery to see how long it will power this radio. I had to interrupt it last night because I didn't want to leave it on overnight for 5 or 6 hours and have it shut off during the night to not know when it shut off, at least not within the hour of when it shut off. So I shut it off last night. This morning I turned it back on at 5 a.m. and it's now just after 6 a.m. So it's been running for a total of 10 hours continuous for the first 9 hours, and then there was a break, and now it's been on for another hour. And some of these batteries will recover a little bit when you take the load off. So I may have given it a little boost there by turning it off overnight. Anyway, as I suspected at the very beginning, this little tiny, let me put the antenna down so I don't break it off. Very easy to break off these antennas. The tuning wheel is right here. That's how you tune this thing. There's no digital tuning as far as punching in numbers. I assume it's an analog tuner with a digital display. That's how it works. So this little wheel is what you have to use to tune. And as I suspected, it's really hard to tune. Not impossible, but really hard, especially if you're trying to tune in a weak station. Strong stations like Radio Habana, no problem, because they got a very wide signal, so you can, jump around when you're using this tuning knob, and not be a big problem, especially if you know the frequency. And it seems to hold the frequency once you tune it. But of course, the testing I did this morning is on Radio Habana, which has a wide signal, so maybe I wouldn't notice that it was drifting. So I'm going to try a few minutes of tuning the bands, both with the telescopic antenna, and I'll extend it here in a second, and with an external antenna. So let me extend telescopic antenna once again. It's not very long. It's about 2 feet. And I'm going to set this down. And see, I just bumped that tuning knob and the frequency changed. Turn the volume back up. Okay, so it's still there. Now let's tune up or down, whichever. There's another Spanish station. Typically, let me turn this down for a second. Typically in this band, down around 5-6 megahertz, is a lot of Spanish-speaking stations. They kind of hover around down there, most of which are not documented on any of these frequency lists. So I don't know where they're at. Radio Habana, I do know, of course. And they come in really strong. So, you know, the other thing is living in Florida, there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in Florida. So there's a lot of stations, even local stations, you know, within 25 miles of me, that are Spanish-speaking only. So this station could be down the street, I don't know. It's really strong. So let's get away from that band. Let's go to 31 meters, which is my favorite band. There we go, 9.20 megahertz. It does seem to hold the frequency on each band that you were last at. So that's convenient. It doesn't have, oh, do I know? I'm trying to remember if it has any memories. Man, I don't think it does. Oh boy, I had the manual. Oh, by the way, no, that's not it. Oh, there's a little tiny piece of paper that comes with it. Doesn't tell you much, and I don't know what I did with it. That's not it. Stand by. The old man's lost his paperwork. Jeez, oh, that's not it. That's not it. Yeah, I lost it. Oh. Yeah, that's it. That's not it. Okay, I can't find the paperwork for this radio. I don't think it has any memories. Nah, it doesn't have any memories. Forget it. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you'll correct me. So let's go into let's scan this 31 meter band. Like I say, the documentation that comes with it is about this much. So it doesn't tell you much about the radio or how to use the radio. By any chance that I put the documentation in the box? No, I've lost it. Oh well, okay. So much for that. Forget. Oh gee, oh gosh, oh my gosh. I think it's time I clean my workbench again. Okay, moving on. So what we're going to do? We were going to scan this interference. That's what I told you. It's not too bad in tuning. I'll tune slowly and you watch the numbers. Okay, there's about 9.56 something. I have noticed I'm powering this battery only. I have noticed when I touch this grill, it seems the reception gets a little better. So maybe I'm forming a ground for the radio. See that? So the radio is looking for a ground. Okay, moving on. I don't know what that is. .57, something there. I'm getting close to Radio Australia 9580. There it is. Radio Australia. Big difference. Now let's try something else. I'm going to put the antenna down so that I can clip an external antenna to it. Although it's not totally shielded, I've got another 6 inches of alligator clip lead to get from my antenna to this radio, because there is no external antenna jack, so it's getting some noise there. Okay, there it's clipped on. Now my hands don't make as much of an impact on the signal. Signal's kind of coming and going. What else was I going to say? Oh, what I was going to tell you is, and let me turn this down for a second. The antenna I clipped on is just my homebrew long wire antenna. It's just a long wire strung up in my backyard. It's about 40 feet long. It's in-fed with a coax cable, so it's got a shielded cable coming in. The shield part of the coax is not grounded, so that could improve things by grounding that shield. Typically, I assume the radio, depending on the radio, of course, will ground that shield when I connect the antenna via this connector here, so that the shield gets connected to the ground on the radio, giving me a ground for the coax. Again, not the best in the world, but in this configuration where I use an alligator clip, it's ungrounded. The coax cable is ungrounded. I hope I make some sense there. Well, yeah. Okay, moving on. So it does seem to be sensitive enough to pick up some strong stations. Again, reception conditions, even using, one of my other radios, a 31-foot telescopic antenna outside, I can't pick up much. So that's the best I can do as far as reception testing right now. I will continue to do the battery test. Oh, I also, let me unhook this for a second. I also tried to do, put this down, clip it in place. There. I also tried to use the karaoke input jack, which is right here, so that I can use this as an amplifier / speaker. And I did get, if I held my lapel microphone plug kind of halfway in, halfway out, I got an indication that it was in that mode, but I didn't get anything out of the speaker. That's the only microphone I've tried. I could try my headset microphone. Let me just, for the grins, and to end up this particular video, I've got, let's see, get my headphones microphone over here because I'm not using it. And I'll zoom out here so you can see what I'm doing. You can also see my messy workbench. So this is the headphones and microphone that I was using before, but I wasn't using the headphones, and it's quite heavy. So I'm going to see what happens if I plug that in. Maybe stick it on my head to give me some free hands. So down here someplace. Now this has three ranks. And this is, that's the wrong one. It has two jacks, one for headphones, one for microphone. This is the one for microphone, and it's 3 rings. I'm not sure why there's 3, except to be more compatible with other devices. So I'm going to plug that in. Let me zoom in so you can see what happens to the display, and you can see the smoke if I burn something up here. So we're going to jam this in here. Now, I just barely stuck it in there, just kind of loose there, and it came up speaker. So it's recognizing that I'm putting a microphone of some kind of device input to this thing. So now I'm going to jam it all the way in. When I jammed it all the way in, it doesn't recognize it. Now it's back into radio mode. I'm going to pull it out like 1 notch. It's back in speaker mode. Now, let me turn the volume up. Okay, the volume's up. And I do not hear anything out of it. Nothing. It is indicating that it is in what they call speaker mode. I'll pull it out 1 more. Hello, hello. Are you there now? Is you there? Okay, I still don't hear anything coming out of the speaker. And now it's out. Whoa. So I can't get it to work. It does appear to recognize that I plug something into that port, as long as I don't plug it all the way in the case of that particular plug, which has 3 rings or sections, whatever you want to call it. So I can't get that to work. Maybe you need a microphone, which I probably have someone around. Well, I know I do. I have some microphones around here that are totally mono, so they've only got 2 sections on the plug. They might work. Karaoke. The other thing is, it could be used for a speaker amplifier for another radio. That's another option. So that's something else I could try, is connecting from another external source, such as a radio or an MP3 player or something, and see if I can use this setup for a speaker amplifier. Try that later. So that's where we're at on this little baby. Continue to let it run at about normal volume for me and see how long that battery lasts. I'm assuming that it has some kind of protection, that when the battery gets low, it shuts off and takes the load off the battery, excuse me, so it doesn't totally kill the battery. That's one of my concerns, is totally killing the battery by leaving it on continuous. So I'm going to start watching it today, check it every hour or every half hour, see how it goes. Anyway, that's the show. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.